Hello, Clyceer Waves. I wanted to play this game because it involves hexagons, and I don't have Super Hexagon, but Bertrador and Tarquin lately have been playing Super Hexagon and talking about a variety of topics, and I wanted to talk about RPGs, which their most recent video was on, except I didn't want to just use comments, because I didn't want to leave like 8 of them, because you only get like 500 characters. So one thing they talked about was early RPGs that they've played. I don't actually know what the first RPG I played was, and this game doesn't work very well in windowed mode. My mouse just went outside the area, so that might be a thing. I might have to pick a different game. Or I might just die randomly because I'm dumb and forgot that I have slow mode if I right click. Right. So yeah. We had a bunch of games by the time I was actually like able to remember anything, because I had older brothers and they bought games. So the first thing I played as far as RPGs go was either Chrono Trigger, Earthbound, Robotrek, or Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Okay, so yeah, use my buffer, that's that red bar above my person. Oh, I didn't bomb, because I forgot what bombing was. Right. So yeah, I mean, all those games, I think they're great. Let's see. I guess Robotrek is probably the one that the most people are unfamiliar with. In that one, you have like 3 robots. Well, you build them one at a time. You start with no robots at all. And you can like customize their weapons, and you could equip like a shield, and you have the most customization over their stats that I've like ever seen in anything ever. Like you could go total glass cannon and kill the second boss in like 2 hits, but he would kill you in 1 hit, but that's fine because you had 3 robots. And so that was pretty hilarious. I did that once. Every level up, I put all 10 character points in attack, and I killed him in like a hit because I had max attack. But then I couldn't level my attack anymore. I don't know. Also, the greatest thing about Robotrek was, even though it was like SNES era, SNES era, it had a great synthesis system. Like, not everything could be combined, but it had the invention machine, and you would just pick 2 items, and it would tell you whether you could combine them. So, like, if you wanted the revive thing, that was a cure and a clean. Cure plus clean makes repair. And that was pretty awesome. I mean, no other game I played at the time even, like, tried to let you combine items. And I was all amazed. I sometimes pretended to have an invention machine. So yeah, I would recommend that nowadays. I guess like the gameplay isn't actually that interesting. It was, I mean, you attack your enemies. You didn't have too many other options in combat. Although like you had to like consider how much charge you could spend on a single turn, and or else like the enemy would get to go twice. Because you could do combo attacks where you would hit like 3 times in a row, and that was pretty awesome. So yeah, Robotrek. I mean, Earthbound, of course, it was Earthbound. Chrono Trigger was Chrono Trigger. I did not get stuck in Chrono Trigger at the Oregon part, because I watched my brothers do it. Because, like, 2 older brothers, it's actually pretty awesome to, like, have brothers playing a game, and you share different things about the game. So, like, all of my early games that I played, like Link to the Past, Super Metroid, I always felt like I knew what I was doing because I had seen it happen. Let's see, what was the other one I mentioned? Robotrek, Earthbound, Chrono Trigger. I feel like there was one other one that people may not have played. Oh yeah, by the way, Robotrek is made by Enix. Not Square Enix, just Enix. That was a thing. Dang. I mentioned one other RPG is possibly my first. Oh yeah, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. That was, of course, Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. And I, too, liked the fact that you got different weapons that did different things on the field. And I think my favorite thing ever in the game was the sound that the extending claw made. You know the sound. It was amazing, okay? Yeah. So, they also discussed the definition of the actual genre, RPG. I think it's actually pretty hard to nail down. An RPG is something that feels like an RPG, is what I want to say. Because, like, sure, you expect some sort of character growth. Hopefully, not only in terms of stats, but also in terms of actual character growth. Like, you know, like they have in books. What a concept. So often, I think of RPGs as meaning a different thing if it's used as a hybrid thing, rather than if it's its own thing. Like, an FPS RPG, I would accept that just if you have some variety of your character gets stronger as you go on in more ways than just finding different guns. So, like, I consider BioShock an FPS RPG. Or, like, an action RPG, if you level up, it's an action RPG. But, like, a turn-based game, you probably need to be able to keep leveling arbitrarily. Although, maybe not. Okay, like, my favorite strategy RPG ever is, Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor. And in that, there was kind of a, like, soft cap on how high you could level, because the experience you gained scaled with the, level of the enemies, or the difference between you and the enemies. So if you were higher level, you would, like, stop gaining experience pretty much. So that's neat. I don't really like games where you can just solve everything by leveling arbitrarily high. Even in, like, action RPGs, I don't really like it. I tend to rush through RPGs just because I don't want to accidentally destroy all the challenge, kind of like I did that one episode of Ys. Whoops. I don't know. I like to feel like I've actually needed to be good at a game. So I also like it when an RPG actually rewards skill in some way. My favorite way, well, another thing I like, not my favorite way of demonstrating that, is when status affecting skills are actually good. Like, I think Pokemon is actually a really good, well-designed RPG. Especially, like, the fact that you can even play it competitively. Like, how many RPGs do you just attack and heal, and there's literally nothing interesting you do? Like, sure, you, like, scan your enemy for their weaknesses, or you die randomly to an enemy. No, you make sure to use their weakness, but it's just a matter of picking the one spell you're going to cast all fights, basically. Yeah, I don't know, fights just aren't interesting to me in RPGs anymore nowadays, if it's turn-based and I'm dead. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. One thing I do like is the Wild Arms 3 and Wild Arms 4. Those were amazing. I'm just gonna say that randomly. One thing I thought was really interesting, 4 actually, is after every encounter, they give you all your hit points back. So the enemies were difficult enough that you needed to use mana on normal enemies. Like, a lot of RPGs, you don't really do that. Like, you'll just, like, attack, and then when the fight's over, you heal a little, and that's it. So, I don't know. A lot of RPGs leave me unsatisfied. Like, I could not finish Final Fantasy VII. I just couldn't. It was boring. Like, I was under level, so I was still, like, feeling like the fights were close. But close is different from interesting. Like, there's good challenge, and then there's just uninteresting challenge. Yeah. So, I don't know. I realize I'm spending a lot of this video just, like, saying that I don't like RPGs, but I mean, I like good RPGs, I want to say, but some RPGs just, I don't know. I play games to show off. I'm not doing a good job of showing off right now because I'm trying to talk about RPGs while playing an arena shooter, but yeah. Like, I like playing games that it's impressive to beat. Like, I've played Super Meat Boy. Yeah. I said it. And I'm not just looking to impress others, I'm looking to impress myself, if that makes sense. Like, I want to feel like I did something neat, or cool, or, you know. I don't know. A lot of RPGs just don't give me that. Like, sure, you play through them and it's a neat experience. Like, I bet a lot of people just like RPGs because they can win them. Because, especially modern day RPGs are not difficult. Like, I don't know, how many people do you, like, encounter that they're like, man, I couldn't beat Final Fantasy X because this one boss was just too strong, and... No, if a boss is too strong, you just go level. You don't give up on the game because you can't beat a section. And of course, just going and leveling is the most boring thing ever. Like, don't. I don't know, sometimes it's necessary. But I think I already said that, I always rush through RPGs just because I don't want to get too high level. Like, I'll usually clear out any enemies that I happen to encounter. Like, I don't, like, run to reduce the experience I get, and also, like, in an action RPG, I'll generally clear out what's in my way, unless I can definitely more easily avoid it. And yeah, are these gonna be the red ones? No, they're the yellow. Okay. Let's see. I feel like I had something else neat to say about RPG. Oh yeah, leveling systems. I wanted to talk more about those. Since I don't really like being able to over-level, I like to know that I'm at the proper level. I actually really like leveling systems that either like soft cap you by reducing your experience gains if you're higher level than your enemies, or some are like really non-standard, like there was an action RPG, Roland's Curse, on the Game Boy, or I think it was Roland's Curse 2. I was given it like for a birthday after the Game Boy Advance was already out, so this was an old game at the time I played it. But in that game, it's more like Zelda, where you find your power-ups, but it was just like a level up token, and I thought that was pretty neat. Also, like, I don't know, I don't really actually like ones where the limit on your level ups is only having so many levels you can do. Ooh, achievements. What was I gonna say? Only so many fights you can do, like Fire Emblem, because then I'm always worried that if I level up the wrong people, I'll just like be dead later. Because even though I like having limits, one limit I don't really like is having to make decisions that affect your file permanently. I like to take engagements one at a time. So yeah, the Fire Emblem style, where every battle you have to focus not only on that battle but also on all future battles, it's not really something I'm a fan of. The newest Fire Emblem Awakening, though, gives you enough repeat battles that it's not that style. It's different from, say, the Fire Emblem that's just called Fire Emblem on the Game Boy Advance. I can never remember what that one's Japanese name is. It's not the first Fire Emblem, so I feel like it's inappropriate to just call it Fire Emblem. So I have this big giant disclaimer about this strategy RPG called Fire Emblem. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, back on the genre of RPGs. I don't think I ever finished discussing that. Wow, this is an amazing score. I don't consider every game where you can grow to be an RPG. I'm certainly a lot less strict with it if it's an action game, but I don't know, if you're just collecting things, especially if you have no choices you have to make, then I don't really think of it an RPG. It's just like an adventure game, or yeah, like the Metroid style. You always get the same power-ups as long as you actually find them. It's not like you get like a skill capsule and you have to decide which skill you want from it. Because, I don't know, one thing I really like about a lot of RPGs is that you generally get choice. And I like being able to reset my choices, of course, due to things that I've mentioned previously. But you can have a distinct style from other people just because you decided that your character is capable of different things than theirs. I usually like glass cannons, just because, I don't know, I like them. I guess I like to feel like I'm actually like, I don't know, I like to feel strong, and if you're a glass cannon, sure, you can never take hits, and so you might actually be less efficient in terms of hits you have to deal per hit you're allowed to take. That's usually an important measure in action games. But when you play a glass cannon well, it feels really awesome, okay? I'm usually disappointed when my choice is just between like melee or ranged, and usually if they make you make that choice, one of the choices is just bad. Like I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. Like, I guess in like Devil May Cry 3, you don't really get that choice, but like if you're playing Gunslinger, it just feels weak. Because it has like its various styles, and I'm gonna consider Devil May Cry an RPG. It doesn't have level ups, but it has like you can grind the red orbs that you use for upgrades, and you kind of like pick your upgrades. And I guess like the third one, you can level your styles. Although I don't know, they level up so fast compared to the length of the game that I don't really consider that a thing. Like, you're gonna hit max level on your styles. That's just fact. Yes. You get to decide what you upgrade first, of course, but you'll probably get all the relevant ones. But anyway, like, besides the rockets, which aren't really that ranged attacks just didn't deal that much damage, and they were like bad for your style meter. Oh come on. I didn't get my combo up to 10. Wow, I really beat my previous record. How did that happen? Anyway, I guess I'll go one more round, because I want to just ramble about RPGs for 20 minutes. What else am I going to say? I'm not sure how many thoughts I've left unfinished, of course. I'm sure it's been a few. I guess you can ask me in comments if I didn't finish saying anything. Yeah. Oh! Besides not liking the attack and heal gameplay, and that's one thing I like about Pokemon, you don't just like alternate your attacks and heals. I like it when attacking is actually interesting. Usually you have to like offer multiple compelling targets, and also another good one is having a reason temporarily to not attack. Like, if on my spellcasters and fighters turns, that's non-healing spellcasters, of course, if I have to think about what I'm doing every turn, that's good. It can also be helpful to give some of your offensive characters more defensive abilities, but then you often have to, if their defensive abilities like cover, then you need to be able to give the player clues that they need to do something defensive. Obviously, if it's like a heal, or if they can cleanse status effects, then in order to be interesting, you need to sometimes have times when it's not worth it to cleanse a status effect, when you really need damage that turn. So I can't think of a good example of that, but a good example of a clue is in Persona 4. I was watching Tofu Boy's videos. I think they're taken down now, actually, but there was one boss where it spent a turn just like staring at one of your characters that was weak against its magic, and if you defend, you're not even weak against it, and if they hit you with your weakness, it gives them an extra turn, so you really don't want that to happen. And so after you're warned, you can defend on them, and I don't know. I mean, sure, like, once you figured it out once, you're just going to do that every time, so it's not an interesting decision every time, but the first time you do it, it feels clever. I don't know, a good RPG, I feel, lets the player feel clever because of decisions that they've made during combat. Yes. Obviously, a strategy RPG has more room for that. Like, Wild Arms 4, it's not a real, like, huge strategy RPG, but it has elements of it, because you move around on a grid. You aren't just standing there in abstract space swinging at each other in Wild Arms 4. But it's not like full-on strategy that you have to spend too long thinking about, because there are only 7 hexes in the battlefield ever. 6 hexes surrounding a middle hex. And like 3 of them will have elements on them that make you resist the element. I'm just talking about Wild Arms 4 now, apparently. So yeah, after this run of the game ends, I'm gonna end the video. So yeah, RPGs, they're great, but they're really easy to mess up making them great. I mean, just like any game genre, I'm sure you could make a platformer that's the most not most dangerous thing ever, most boring thing ever. It could even be really dangerous, but it could still be boring if it doesn't allow the player to ever feel good at the game, or doesn't require the player to be good at the game. I don't know. Games, they gotta require skill, or they're just not a thing. I mean, a little luck's fine too, but you gotta require skill. Yeah. Obvious decisions are obvious. They're not skill. I've said that thing like 3 times now. I'm just going in circles, which is appropriate for this circular arena I'm in, with hexagons in it. Yes. Kill that. Any more points I can make? I don't know. I would actually really like an RPG where all the leveling is based on finding new monster types. I don't know. Actually, I know for a while I thought Chrono Cross worked that way, but it might just be based on hidden EXP. It seemed like whenever I noticed I was fighting a new enemy type and looked at the stat gains at end of combat, I would get more stat gains if I had killed something that I'd never killed before. It might have been coincidence, but I think that would be really neat if your leveling and stuff was always based on trying new things. And then they could have like incentives to go search out areas for like rare monsters and stuff. And it would also put a soft cap on how strong you could be at any given time. Because, I mean, you could still get some gains by, like, killing the same things repeatedly. Like, I think in Chrono Cross you usually get some max HP. So, yeah. That would be interesting. There was one other thing that would be interesting that I thought of. Oh, yeah, I also like leveling systems where, you start out with kind of like a general character, but as they do things, they get better at the things they're doing. That was mentioned in the, Tarquin Bertrudor video, but I wanted to say that I like that too. Especially if you really want to, you can max them all out, because then you don't have to worry about making the wrong decision. But realistically, within a run of the game, you should only want to go down one path, or maybe 2. Like, I would probably make like a great wizard with like tons of destruction magic skill or whatever. Suddenly talking about Oblivion. Yes. For a second, I was mixing it up with Skyrim. I haven't played Skyrim, but I have played Oblivion. Yeah, I went like full-on destruction magic, and the spell customization in that game is so ridiculously broken. So like, I made this touch spell that did damage over time of like 4 different damage types, because that was like amazing. Like, it wasn't like a really long damage over time, but if your spell did damage over 2 seconds, it was a lot more cost effective than if it was instant damage. And also, like, the spell cost would scale with like square of the damage done. So if you did 1/4 as much damage, but of 4 different damage types each, it was more cost effective. And yeah, as I've said before, getting to feel clever is really cool. Like, games, I don't know, it's fun to feel clever and it's fun to feel good. Like, mechanically skilled, I mean. Like, but there's not as much opportunity for feeling mechanically skilled at RPGs because they're often turn-based. And there just aren't mechanics. Except if it's like Super Mario RPG. That was another great one. Sure, your strategic decisions are usually pretty obvious, but every turn you were playing a timing minigame. I got surrounded there without enough slow. I activated my slow too early. So yeah, Super Mario RPG is great, not only because it was funny and quirky and a good standard RPG, but also every turn you got to have your skills just a little tested to keep things interesting, even as you're just attacking your enemy or casting your biggest offensive spell on the boss or using your healing magics. Yes. Also, did you have shared flower points in that game, or did that start with Paper Mario? I forget if you had to, like, consider... I think it was shared. So that was another thing that was interesting. Whenever you have a shared resource, it's always interesting to see who you want to spend it on. Especially with resources that come back and are consumed every fight. Like Wild Arms 4, I'm going to mention again, had this unified force meter. It would start out, I think at the beginning of the game it always started out empty, but there was a passive skill you could get later that made it start out full or like half full or something. And like, you could charge it up over the course of a turn or two, and you could expend it over the course of like a turn or two. And so it was interesting to see whose force skills you wanted to use with the unified force meter. So yeah, good RPGs make you make decisions. End statement, full stop. That if you take one thing from this video, that should be it. That's what I like about RPGs. Bye. I mean, see ya. That's my standard outro. See ya.